It's Wednesday, November 9th, 2016, and it's time for WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker. I'm Greg Watkins, the editor at WorthPoint.com. And Harry, how are you doing tonight?
I have a big smile on my face, but who's to say? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
You're not smiling the same way I am.
Wednesday, I went to bed fairly early last night, and
well, you know, the simple truth of the matter is that I didn't watch anything last night. I went to bed assuming I'd wake up and find Hillary Clinton president. So it was more of a shock for me this morning than you.
This is true. Yes.
Well, and you know, I got yelled at by one of my listeners on the radio when I made a semi-pass. You know, What You Got radio show on Sunday morning. I made a kind of passing remark about one of the presidential candidates. And I got a note back and said, politics have no role in the antics of collectible business, and you should be neutral. And the answer is that man needs to get a life.
I feel if not a rant, I feel a discussion coming on.
Yes, you do. And this is Harry the Guru talking. I have a list of 10 reasons why I think the Trump election is good for the antique business. And
I'm sure that everybody wants to hear that.
Yes, I'm sure. Harry stopped. No. First of all, it's good because the election's over.
True.
No, I really think, I've been hearing for the last 3 months that people aren't buying. The attendance is down. It shows that there's a lot of everybody was so unsure. And I think that carried over in the antiques and collectible business. I really do. And now that the election is over and the stock market did not crash and the world did not fall apart, I'm hoping. Now, do I think we're going to get along better? No. But I think that there's just going to be a general relief that we're sick and tired of seeing all the commercials and stuff. And I think it's going to be better. I think it is going to be better. So, you know, it's over. That's reason one. We don't have to hear any more about it. Now, I have to confess. You ready for this?
I saw somebody post that there's only 11 years, or 3 years, 11 months, 21 hours before the next election.
Yes. Well, no, that's not true because the campaign starts 18 months before the election. So our relief time is a lot shorter than they think anyway. But anyway.
You're right.
But guess what? I have to tell you, what do you think I did? I had to go over to see the dentist, and I'm driving up the road, and there was a sign in the road. And I would never have ever in the past stopped and pulled a political sign out of the ground. But I did. And I'm astonished at myself. But anyway, it's over, done with. Let's get on with life. Let's get back to normal. And I think we will. I really do.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, the interesting thing is that, you know, who buys antiques and collectibles? I mean, seriously, the bulk of them.
I guess today it would be older.
Well, no,
collectors.
Low to middle class white people. Seriously.
Yeah, right.
Now forget the high end of the market, which is bought by an elitist group of people, Republican or Democrat, who are moneyed. But the bulk of the antiques and collectibles are bought by middle and low class, lower class. I don't mean that low class in that sense, but lower class income white people. They're the collectors, and they are focused in the Midwest. You know, the flyover states, the red states that went this way.
Yes.
So anything that boosts their confidence, Greg, has got to be good for the business. Okay, now I'm not saying there aren't members of minority groups that buy antiques and collectibles, but I've argued for years that our business is virtually white. I don't like it, by the way. Let me make it very clear. I wish everybody collected. I think they should. But that was one of the things. Also, I think the stock market, you know, just like Trump went against all the predictions, the stock market went against all the predictions. Europe was down. Everybody thought the stock market was going to collapse. And what happened? It's up 250 points. And I am going to tell you there is going to be a feeling that the economy is going to get better. Now, Trump has to deliver a lot on his promises, but the whole point is, I think there's a new optimism out there among that middle class of people and the lower end that they finally had a voice, and their voice was heard. Okay, now, if that's true, and if the economy does improve, there's going to be more money available. And even though we're competing with travel and a whole bunch of other leisure stuff, I mean, I just read a statistic today that for the millennials, 50% of their food budget is spent in restaurants. Okay?
Yes,
but I think we're going to see money flowing in to the trade. Okay, seriously. The other thing is that in a way, we always people don't look at the trade geographically a lot, okay? And as much as we talk about a national economy and a global economy, right? The truth of the matter is that the antiques and collectibles trade is very much still regional. And I think
right. We've discussed that several times.
We have discussed that several times, right? And look at the electoral map. The Rockies are a huge barrier. And what plays the West Coast doesn't play anywhere else in the country. Okay, now, what does it mean about New England? But the heart of America is the Midwest, the upper Midwest, and the South and the Southwest. And I have to tell you, the geographical differences between collectors, you could almost put that map up, that electoral college map up, and understand how collecting regional differences work in the U.S. Seriously. I thought that was interesting. The role of middle America and the South is there. In a way, it falls into that regional thing too. Rural versus urban. Having grown up in the East, you think, oh well, all the principal buyers are in the cities, right? But the problem is, in the cities, the homes are small and they live in apartments. There's not a lot of room. Not that they don't collect, but where the big collections are assembled. They're assembled out in the small rural areas, out of the countryside, in the smaller towns, smaller cities, smaller towns. And I have to tell you, again, this is, there be many interpretations of this election, but I see rural people, this was a rural versus an urban election. And I'll tell you what, if the economy gets better, we're going to see more collecting out in the rural areas. And I tell you how I saw this. I was down in Fort Wayne, Indiana over the weekend. And on Monday, Linda had a conference down there, and I went down with her. And I got into some malls. And I was astonished at the prices. Now, were they selling anything? No, the poor lady said to me as I was leaving the mall, she says, well, I guess you didn't see anything you wanted to buy. And I said, ma'am, I saw a lot of things that I wanted to buy, but I'm not going to pay the prices. But they have to be selling something or they could stay in the mall. So I see things getting better. Now, there's some other things too. It will not impact market change in our business. Everybody says America wants to change, America wants to change. But we have been undergoing change in the antiques and collectibles trade for the last 20 years, okay?
Right.
And you could almost say that the change that the Trumpites, or whatever term you want to use for Republicans or whatever they are, silent majority or whatever, they want to go back. They want to go back to a more traditional thing. They want to change less government, all the rest of that stuff. Change in the antique and collectibles trade is here forever. It's never going to not change anymore. And that change will have nothing to do with this. This trade is going to change. It'll never go back to its traditional roots. It will never retreat. And the millennials will see to that. And one of these times when I'm pontificating, we'll pontificate on the millennials because I am starting to study them and ask what they mean towards the trade. In a way, I think politically, this campaign, whether Hillary would have run or Trump would have won, it was the last hurrah for the old guard. The old guard Republicans and the old guard Democrats. And now, come on, we ran old fart candidates. I mean, I'm an old fart. At this point, I could have run for president. I mean, I was old enough. But the thing is, I think we're going to see a whole new younger generation coming. Okay, and
Right, I agree.
I don't think that's bad. I think that's good. And finally, the campaign was run a little bit on America first. You know, American first basis. We'll bring jobs back to America. We'll do all of that. I'm going to tell you one other thing too. Even though we may become a little bit nationalistic, it's not going to stop the globalization of collecting. Not collecting is going to continue to change and change radically over the next 10 to 15 years. And it's also going to go more global than it's ever been before because of the digital age.
Right.
So I mean, so there are some direct effects of the election, but there are also some other effects that the election has shown that are going to run counter to where I think we're going into trade. And I think in a way, that's what makes the trade so much fun. It's independent of a lot of this other stuff. But don't tell me this election isn't going to impact the trade, because I think it is. And so, okay, so now I blabbed on for almost 11 minutes. So,
okay.
So this is a chance for you to get your 2 cents worth.
My 2 cents?
Yes, or 3 cents, or 5 cents.
Well, I agree that you're looking at the map and seeing that the center of the country is where the collecting is being.
Yeah, I think so too.
They do have on the coasts. They do have it, but it's collecting of different things. They're collecting for decoration and decor, as opposed to collecting for a collection and wanting to have one of each or several examples of something. And if they do have some more disposable income, then they may turn that toward collecting. I also think that the change that you talk about in the industry is also going to happen regardless of the way the election.
Oh, it's going to it has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with digital.
Yes. And the millennials, there are just some lines of collectibles that they just have no interest in. And you've talked about anything that's in a dining room has got no interest, and the millennials don't care about china and silver and furniture sets and things like that, because
listen, they don't care about Outlaw Cassidy, and they should be shot. No. But anyway, changing the subject briefly, because I don't want to say we've done this because I think we may be commenting on it in future ones too. Look, the whole point of these WorthPoint Chats is to share my thoughts and your thoughts about what's going on out there and what the impact is. Am I saying that we're always right? No, of course we're not. I'll tell you one thing. You watch these WorthPoint Chats, you'll have something to think about, if nothing else. But anyways,
right. Whether we have hit on something or we're just full of it.
Well, I mean, there have been a lot of rumors in the trade about me for decades, so we won't worry. I'm not going to embarrass me any. But anyway, we did get an object in from one of our WorthPoint listeners this week, right?
Yeah, we did.
Let's take a look at it.
Okay, let me find it here, and we'll get it up.
Okay, now this is a drop leaf gate leg table, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, I always tell people, when you're looking at something, ask yourself a basic question. Would I put this in my house the way it is? And the answer is no. It is in really rough shape. And so right away when you're looking at it, you're trying to value it, you have to say it's not room ready. And one of the things that we know in the antiques and collectibles trade today, is that people want things that are room ready. They want to be able to take them in the house and put them in place.
So you wouldn't call this shabby chic?
It's shabby. I wouldn't call it chic. How's that?
Okay.
You would pass this off as shabby chic?
Oh, no, I'm just saying that.
I have other names for shabby chic, but I will refrain from mentioning them on the air here because they would just get people upset.
And we don't want to do that.
Well, it's like my favorite phrase, 100-year-old piece of manure is not an antique, it's a 100-year-old piece of horse shit. Well, enough said. Anyway, but I want to look at the tables very curious. We know we're going to learn a lot about this table. First of all, how do you know that it's not a period table? I mean, a gate-leg table was very popular at the end of the 18th and into the early 19th century. I mean, it was the most standard of the tavern tables. If you go to Williamsburg, you'll see them in the taverns there. And I saw it was a very popular form. How did you know that this isn't that old? Well, I mean, it's old.
It's old, but it's shop made.
Well, first of all, it's painted, which would not have been right. True. Now, you have to be real careful. I ran into a really interesting table in an appraisal where it was a wonderful pie crust birdcage table that had been painted during the Victorian era when the Victorians were gussying up the earlier furniture. And you had to look underneath the paint to see that the old table was really there. But in this particular case, the paint that's on here started out life with this table. Okay. What else strikes you as odd?
I think the square.
Yeah, the chamfered
legs versus the turned legs.
Well, I see. Well, no. That's the joiner and the turner. That didn't bother me as much. It's the drop leaf. It's got chamfered corners. That was never that way historically. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The other thing you may remember when we were looking at drop leaf tables, not necessarily gate legs, the leaf dropped even further down. But okay. But this table's marked. So let's take a look at the markings that we found on the table. One, Imperial Tables, Grand Rapids. Now, as you know, I live just outside of Grand Rapids, and there was a point when Grand Rapids was the furniture capital of the United States. And so I was able to get some history on Imperial Tables, very interesting history. The company was founded in 1903 by F. Samuel Foote, F-O-O-T-E. Now, he worked for his dad, F. Stewart Foote, who owned the Grand Rapids Chair Company, which obviously made chairs.
Chairs, yeah.
So the son worked for his dad for a while, and after a while, he broke away and founded Imperial Furniture Company to, guess what? Make tables for his dad's chairs. Right? So I thought it was interesting.
Perfect symbiotic relationship right there.
There was a little bit of nepotism there. Now, the Imperial's primary products were tables with some bookcases added later in its history. In fact, Foote, this is the founder, claims, now I did not know this until I just this, claims to have invented the coffee table. It turned out, well, okay. Not this one, but it turned out his wife was having a party, and the table they had was too tall, so he sawed off the legs to lower the table to coffee table height that he was so enamored with that he started making coffee tables. Now, legends are so. But in the 1940s, the company built airplane wings for the government, during the war years. And then finally in 54, sold to Bergsma Brothers after Foote died. Foote was president of the company for almost 50 years, okay? The mark is early, from 1910 to 1927, or 26. They changed the mark in 27. So I'm looking at a date. I'm looking at a date because it's really Colonial Revival of about the 1920s, early to mid 1920s. Now there was a third mark. There's a second mark, and I want you to go to that if you would, please, because this is a dead giveaway. Well, first of all, the hinging is a dead giveaway too, but there it is, the factory number. In fact, several controlled factory numbers on there. I think it's 820, which I think is probably the model number. Maybe a dozen 820s, and you get a dozen tables that look exactly like this one. And the 55 is either a control number or a parts number or something. But anyway, long and the short of it is we have a 1920s drop leaf table. It needs to be badly repainted, but if you repaint it, you take away its value. You can certainly revarnish the legs, but the painting has gotten dirtied and mellowed down, and it's not popular at the time. So, what kind of value do we have? Well, what does WorthPoint tell us?
Well, let's
start with the most optimistic one.
Okay, so there's another mark.
Oh, is that on the table too?
Yes.
Yeah, these must be all controllable.
All right. So I searched for.
Yes. Well, we don't have any painted ones, but there are some drop leaves there, though.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that one was.
This one.
What did that?
This one here is an Imperial. I gotta have a Imperial Grand Rapids, Michigan gate-leg scalloped edge table. $99.95 on eBay in September of this year.
And I got to tell you what, for that table, I think that's a strong price. Really, I do. You know, people are going to buy it as a usable table. I mean, they're not buying it. In fact, it looks like it needs work. I think that's a strong price. Now, we found some other ones, right?
Yeah.
Well, I remember you found one for $6.
This one also sold by Imperial. Yeah, it sold for $5.97.
$5.97.
$5.97 at an actual auction, Sloan and Kenyon.
Yes.
In 2010.
Well, you know what? Both of these tables could have probably used a little furniture renewal. But you know,
Yes.
we know a lot about the history of things, and normally, if you know something about a table, it adds to the value. But in this particular case, the condition of the table that our listener said is really in bad shape. And
right.
So,
now we did find this one here.
Yeah.
Just a custom William and Mary style legged oval breakfast table, circa 1920s. They say sold for $375. About 3 years ago.
I was doing really great till you threw that in there. No, yeah, but it's not the same as the other one. Look at all those turnings and how sophisticated they are compared to the table.
Right, it's in much better shape too.
It also has a drawer on the side too. Notice how much further down those drops come as well.
Yes, yeah, it's about a foot off the ground. Where the other ones are.
I tell you what, I think any offer above $25, the person who has a table should kiss the hand and take the money. I mean, it's shot. I would hate to see it. I would hate to see it torn up for firewood. Now, a comment, okay?
Yeah.
This is a case where this is a museum quality piece or whatever. If this person would want it, or it has some family value, you know what I'd recommend? Strip it down and restain it and varnish it and just use it. You can't hurt it at this point. I mean, if you have to pay somebody to do it, you pay 5 times what it's worth when it's done, but that's what I'd suggest for it. All right?
Okay.
What else is happening?
Well, at this point, let's talk about how we talk about these items.
Oh, yes. You mean we want to encourage people to send us their questions?
We certainly do.
Boy, you must want me to work more than I want to work. All right, yes. Look, we would like you to do just what this WorthPoint listener did. If you have an object you'd like us to analyze and talk about it, hey, come on, gang. We're going to be honest here. This isn't the Antique Roadshow. I don't have to save $5 million to get Greg to put it up on the air. We send your question about and your object and photographs to community@worthpoint.com. Now, let me tell you something. First of all, give us as much detail as you can. This person sent us the pictures, which were great, but that's all she said. She says, I'm inquiring about a table I received from my mom. Can you please let me know, is it an antique collectible? Well, okay, fine. But what we really need are dimensions. That would be helpful. There was no guideline or rule in there that we didn't know what we're talking about.
Right, so we can compare sizes.
And there were no sizes in there, so that was a bit of a problem. The more information you can provide, the better we can do. Now, the other thing is, so get the thing back up again. It's fun for me and Greg to pick things to pontificate about every week, but do you have a question about how the trade works, right? I mean, do you want to know what's happening in a particular collecting category? You want me to comment on that? Do you have some general ideas about what it's like to go to auction or whatever? Or if you've been out shopping for antiques and collectibles, I want to share something with us, send us an email and we'll read it on the air. Why not? And again, community@worthpoint.com. Right?
Right.
By the way, I want to tell you, strange though it may seem to you, I am using WorthPoint more and more. And not just that, but I continue to be astonished at the depth of material on WorthPoint at this point. Seriously, I know this sounds like a commercial. It's not. I still maintain and have an extensive reference library. But unfortunately, with the exception of the Colville's price guide, but even there's some question marks about it. So many of these price guides are now, so many of the general price guides and a lot of the specialized guides are working with auction houses and doing nothing but putting pictures in there of stuff that's sold at auction, not making any attempt to ask who bought it and how right is the price. I mean, I got a recent price guide that had pictures of jewelry in it that if I'd have known that they'd been at that auction, they would have sold for more than they did. Because, you know, at an auction, 60, 70% of the pieces are bought by dealers. I mean, they have to make a profit, right?
Right.
So when you take auction prices and you treat them as absolutes, as these new price guides are doing, and it's all over the place now, you have to raise questions about how valid are these prices. I mean, if the end user or the end buyer is one collector competing against another collector, you can trust the price. But if it's two dealers competing against each other and one goes out, the other one gets it, he's still not going to pay more than he can sell it for. I mean, they want to double or triple their money.
Yes,
So you
and
have to be real careful.
And if that is what's happening, if they're taking the photograph of the item and putting the sales price at the auction, then those dealers who bought it are at a disadvantage, because people are going to come across that listing and say, well, it's really only worth $300 because that's what somebody paid for it. So why do I want to pay $9?
Exactly. Well, and I have to tell you, WorthPoint has become a valuable check to buy it now on eBay. You know, if you see something, buy it now on eBay, right?
Right.
And you go to WorthPoint and you find out that it's sold in the recent future, because you put the dates when things were sold there, for a third or a half, and they say make your best offer based on the sell-through price. Okay, some people get a little fussy about that, I've noticed. But on the other hand, I've had more best offers accepted than I've had rejected up on eBay.
Yes, because most people
well,
stuff over.
Well, you know, I mentioned earlier in the show, I was down at Fort Wayne, and I was in this antique mall, right?
Yes.
And there was something for $22. Now, you would think, state that I am, that I just paid it $20. I just paid it $20. But it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. No. But you know, when I look at it, the first question I asked, what's it worth to me? Well, theoretically, I think the thing was worth $5, but it had enough humor in it that I would have paid $10. But I'm not going to pay $22. Even though if I want to buy it now, I have to drive all the way down to Fort Wayne and spend, $50 in a tank of gas or something. Well, not anymore with the gas prices, but at least $30 on a tank of gas to go down. Which I won't do, obviously. But the thing about it is that, and then there was this really neat Art Deco vase, and it wasn't very much. It was under $30. It wasn't marked, but it just was nice. And you know what? It was a $10 vase to me. And if it would have had 10 to 12 bucks on it, I just picked it up and paid it. So then, but you know how it is when God intervenes in your life. Well, Linda's meeting was over at 2, so I'd arranged to have the car. We were staying at a hotel. I arranged to take my things down to the car at 1 o'clock, and I had to go get the car gassed up. And I was going to stop by the mall. And even though I didn't want to pay the price, I felt so sorry for the little old lady there. I was going to buy the 2 out. And just as I'm getting ready to call the guy to come up and pick up the stuff in the room, Linda calls and says, the meeting's over, Harry, come get me. And I saw that as a sign that I was supposed to go.
Well, saved by the bell.
No, saved by Linda's telephone.
The ringtone.
Anyway, but I don't want to save. I don't want to go off the air here without dealing with the second object, because we always try to do 2.
Right. All right.
And besides that, this is one of my fun ones. Here, let me tell you what you're looking at here, because, man, I didn't know the first time either what I was looking at, okay?
Well, these 2 things up here are candle stands.
Well, they're candle stands, so that's not a big problem, okay? All right, but what you're looking at there is a bowl and a cake stand turned upside down. Now, did you have a second picture of those?
Yeah.
Yes, let's get a look at them. Right, so there you are, right side up. On the left, you can see the flat cake stand, right? With
yes.
Upside down little footed thing. And on the right is the bowl, with a footed bowl, and then the candlesticks. And they don't, I'm sure they might fit in those other things, but you wouldn't drop the whole thing on those small pieces. So they are canisters. So on the box is a label, which is fascinating. It says electroplated etched foil. And Greg, I wrote Greg a note and said, what, I sent him some pictures from time to time. I said, what are you going to talk about? He said, we're talking about the etch foil. I wrote him a note back and said, what etch foil are you talking about? Well, the answer is, let's go back again to the larger picture if we can, Greg. This is enamel on copper or on brass as far as I'm concerned. Okay, because this was hot stuff in the 50s. But Gramus, it was a company in Allentown, PA, that made industrial tools and a bunch of other stuff, but also made gifts that were given away in industry and so forth. And that's where this part of the Gramus thing came from. They were once one of the largest companies for this type of stuff in the United States. Very fascinating history of Gramus. I know because I used to collect Gramus stuff when I lived in Emmaus outside of Allentown. I'd run across an auction. Well, what happened was a gal went to an auction and paid $15 for the lot. She wanted to know if it was a good deal. Well, here's the thing. In Allentown, it may not be a good deal, but this is modernist stuff. If these were at a modernist show in New York or Chicago or somewhere where the enamelware is in. And by the way, we looked this up, didn't we, Greg? We get the proper name to make these. The key in New York to sell something is to have a fancy name for it.
Right. In French.
Yeah, champleve process. That's when you take a piece of metal and you put a pattern in it, and then you put an enamel overlay on it and fire it, right?
Right. So
we can say Gramus champleve bowl. Well, that sounds like $50 to me, doesn't it to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually not quite that much. But, in a modernist show, I'd be willing to bet a dealer would try to get $35 to $50 for the bowl, maybe $35 to $45 for the gate plate, and the little candlesticks, maybe $20. So, you pay $15 for the fun. Now, you're not the person who bought them isn't a modernist dealer, and then, and the modernist dealer isn't going to pay those prices for them. Now, would they give her $20, $25 for the pile? They might, if she found the right modernist dealer. But, this is another thing where you look at this stuff. If you don't know the markets inside and out, you don't understand that this enamel, 1950s enamel, this is low-end stuff, but can get very, very expensive, especially if it's Danish and European enamel stuff. And I have a number of pieces like that in my collection. I just love it to death. But anyway, there you are. And again, let's get that sign up there. Come on, gang. We need pictures and questions. Community@worthpoint.com.
Hang on. I'm getting the picture.
Yeah, well,
you're running ahead of me.
I'm hoping you're going to get the picture there, but there it is.
There it is.
@worthpoint.com, right?
Right.
All right. Well, we've done 2 objects. We've made a number of comments. We've analyzed the political election. I will go out and unload my Trump and Pence sign that I picked up off the road today. And by the way, there was no trouble finding a lot of them, but we won't go there.
So here's the thing. Let's take your 10 observations about the recent election and revisit it in say 9 months or a year.
You know what? I'm nearing the 30th anniversary of my column, and I think I'm going to change what I planned to write and actually write about this, because I think it's important to think about what's listening. And I like your idea of coming back and looking at it, in 6 months or a year from now.
Yeah, well, we can make predictions all we want, but if we never come back and see what we said, how do we know if we're right?
Well, let's hope I'm right, because most of my predictions were positive for the business.
Yes, so it would be good for...
And by the way, here we are. It's Wednesday night from 9 to 9:30. We're actually doing this when we're supposed to.
Yes, we're back on schedule.
Yes, and we will be next week again, I'm hoping.
I'm ready for it. My calendar's clear.
Good. Me too. It's on mine.
All right.
Anyway, fun night. Go get some sleep.
I'm certainly going to do that. So until next week, Harry. Bye.
Bye-bye.